Hey guys, it's me again, Orets. I hope you guys are well. Today I'm doing Things to Do with Your OCs, the sequel, and I'm going to be using my superhero OCs like last time. If you want to learn more about them, I have a video on my channel, if you so desire. Some of these are going to be really simple and some are going to be really involved. I'm going to try and go from simplest to most involved, but it's not objective, so I'll just try my best. But let's get started. I've seen this in a ton of Things to Do with Your OCs videos, and for good reason. Not only is making a Spotify playlist a super fun thing to do, but it's simple, and it also fleshes out your OCs a lot. There are ways to make this super complicated and take forever. For example, you could make a song playlist for every single OC in your story, but I'm choosing not to put myself through that, also because I overthink every song I put into a playlist, so it would take me 30 years. So, what I did was this. In an ideal world, my OCs would be in a 5-episode 3D animated TV series with one intro episode, and then each episode after that focuses on one of their lives. All of them are brought together for the final episode due to common interest, although the last episode would be focused on just one's character's backstory that all of the other characters are involved in. I don't actually have a team of animators to help me with this though, so in reality, I'm hoping to one day make 5 kind of short comics that would follow the 5 episodes plots. Since it's not a show, I can't make a soundtrack that would actually be used, but with this playlist I'm making a theoretical soundtrack. I'm using 4 songs for each episode, so a total of 24 songs, and each of them are very different, connecting with a central theme or plot point that theoretical episode would have, and also being something that the character of the episode would actually listen to. If you like my OCs and you're feeling like you want to do some trivia, maybe guess which characters would go with each song. If anybody could do it, I will be shocked and awed and, other positive emotions. Slightly more complicated is a relationship chart. This is basically where you have your OCs in a circle and you do different colored arrows between them to denote their relationships. It sounds kind of confusing, but I promise it'll make more sense when you see it. The simplicity of this one also depends on how many OCs you're using. If you use less than 10 like I did, it takes like 15 minutes, but I'm sure if you have like 40 OCs, it would take forever. I'm also using this base I found on Pinterest to make the chart. Here's the name of the artist who made it. Also, I'm using the drawings I made for my OC's character sheets to fill in the blanks, and that made me realize that I don't have a character sheet for Angel, which is blasphemy, so I need to get on that. Just putting that out there. Next up is info sheets. The amount of time this takes will depend on the complexity of the info sheet you pick. I found a relatively simple one on Pinterest that took me about 15 minutes. It's about texting, and I filled it out with Becca, who I'm sure you can tell is a true character. I love her. I used to really enjoy making these info sheets in middle school, and it really did help flesh out my OCs a ton. I used to spend so much time thinking about how to answer specific questions. And if you want to use the template I'm using now, it's by this artist. Drawing families of my OCs. This one's definitely not easy, and it takes a lot more time than the others, but it's really helpful for making your OCs feel more real and making them more relatable. In this drawing, I'm making a portrait of Casey and his dad. Casey doesn't have the simplest family dynamic. His mother was in an accident in the factory she worked in that led her to lose a lot of her health, so much so that her body couldn't handle the stress and she passed away when she had Casey. This is upsetting on its own, but Casey's dad blames him for the unfortunate situation. Also, due to the accident, Casey has powers that he uses now as a hero. Casey feels like he's making something meaningful and that he's helping people, but his dad feels like he's embracing an evil part of himself, a remnant of the accident his mom was involved in. Needless to say, they have a complicated relationship, and it was really helpful and interesting to put their dynamic to paper a little more, so I definitely recommend this if you're struggling to picture your OC's families. It adds a lot to their story. This one is definitely the most complex. It can be exhausting and overwhelming to make animatics, but over time it gets easier, and personally I've come to really love it. I made a short animatic for this video to the song Adrian Lenker with my OCs Annabelle and Angel. I've told their story before in these two videos. If you like Doomed Yuri, then I recommend watching. If you might plan to make an animatic though, don't push yourself into using a whole song right away. I often use smaller parts of songs like I did in this one, or sometimes I use audios from shows or just from TikToks. Especially when making an animatic for the first time, I'd recommend keeping it to less than 10 or 15 frames. Then I export to an editing software. I use CapCut, and I add some movement and effects. Sometimes I add text for the lyrics if I think it fits the video. Even though making animatics can be difficult, it is really rewarding to see your OC move and talk, so if you find an audio that fits, I'd say definitely give it a try. This one might be a shameless plug for my comic. Okay, it definitely is a shameless plug for my comic, but drawing a cover for your OC's story can be beneficial for anyone. For this one, I recommend looking at covers for books, comics, or movies in the genre that you're writing in. I looked at action covers and superhero covers on Pinterest since that's what my comic is all about. This is the cover for the first, hopefully of a few, editions of the comic series I hope to create over time. This one is called Critters Team Up, and it's on Webtoon right now. If you have any desire to read it, I have a link to it in my bio. If you like my art style and characters, maybe give it a try. I'd be really grateful if you did. That being said, here's the cover, and if you're doing this yourself, you don't have to make a comic with it, but if you want to, maybe give it a try. Making a paper doll seriously drained my life juice. This was so hard. But I lived to tell the tale, and now I will communicate how I did so to you through spoken words that you can hopefully do the same. And I also have a little A-list on my dresser. By the way, I used Danny and Moon Maiden's tutorials on TikTok to make these, so please give them some support if you decide to make these as well. Okay, first thing I did was make the actual parts that would be visible on the doll. I made these on Procreate and printed them out, but you can make them traditionally if you don't have a digital art program or a printer. Basically, you want to create separate pieces for everything that you want to move independently. So I made 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, and a torso, and a secondary hairpiece to hang from. Then you print the pieces out and cut them all out, which took me forever, actually forever, to get all the little details accounted for. After you're done printing and cutting, you take these paper rolls and glue squares to the ends of them, and you cut holes into the parts that you want connected at the joints. Then you place the joints onto the paper rolls and glue everything together, and boom, your little guy is done. I'm sorry if I didn't explain it that well. Honestly, it's one of those things that's easier to do than to explain how to do, but if you want some more guidance, definitely check out the TikTokers I mentioned because they have some really useful tutorials. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope these ideas were useful to some of you and that you've gained inspiration from at least a couple of them. I hope you have an awesome day, night, or I don't know, whatever time of day it is where you live. But I'll see you next time.